I went to Mecca to find Allah and I did pilgrimage. What happened next? I really want to share my experience, but I will share it in the end of the video, and I will start from a background story about me, about my upbringing, because you need to know my mindset when I went for Hajj. I was born in a religious, conservative Pakistani family, and my family was religious in the sense that we prayed 5 times a day, we fasted all days in Ramadan, we did zakat, and we followed teachings of Islam. Actually, I started praying when 5 times a day when I was maybe 6, 7, or 8, very, very young. But my family did not put any kind of pressure on me or didn't condition me to wear hijab. They actually kind of looked down upon hijab for some reason, but they were really big on women's education. My grandfather was actually used to write things about women right on newspaper, and my mom was the first girl in the family who went to a different state for medical education. My mom put a lot of emphasis on education, and that's why I'm like so gratitudinal to my family to give me the gift of education. Because I'm getting sidetracked, but I really want to mention that if we want to empower our women, we have to give them right of education, and by taking away simple right of education, we are suppressing our women. Fast forward, I came to America, and I was surprised to see that Americans were doing everything Islam teaches. And I used to joke like Americans are really good Muslims. Compared to Muslim society here in America is even more backward, more conservative, not a good conservative, very judgmentally conservative. And I'm talking about majority. Of course, they are good and bad, but majority are like this. In Pakistan, majority of people, 95 to 98% of people are Muslim, so I was not exposed to people from different faith. But when I came here, I saw and come close to people of other faith. Actually, I remember one of my patients told me, "You are such a good doctor. Why don't you just convert to Christianity so you can go to heaven? I don't want you to go to hell." And I was just like shocked to see that we as Muslims have similar beliefs. We think that only Muslims will go to heaven. So all these things actually intrigued me. I became curious about my religion, and I started reading Quran with translation. And I had so many questions when I was reading Quran, and I used to go to dars. Those are like Islamic classes only for women, and there is a girl who knows a lot, usually runs it. But I just don't like how free thinking is completely crushed in Islam. So people were just following everything that she was saying, or that is the majority consensus. They just follow it blindly and don't even question, don't use logic, don't use reason. And I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask, but whenever I asked a question, I was looked down upon. They just wanted me to just agree with everything they are saying, and there was no discussion. So it was kind of a turn off for me, because Islam especially does encourage for us to reflect and for us to reason and use logic and learn more about the universe, learn more about ourselves, just like it encourages us to learn and educate ourselves. So I tried to find questions through like research online, and I went to other different classes, and I really always am drawn to like Sufism part of Islam, and I remain drawn to it because that seemed like the least judgmental side of Islam, and I was always drawn to that. So I was around that time I was also very troubled and bothered by complete discrepancy in the whole world, like the contrast. Some people are so happy, so rich, they are thriving, and some people are just born in situations where they are just miserable and they are struggling. Kids are dying, and it's just like so much of all of that suffering going on. And it was just, I just couldn't understand, if Allah is really there, how could He let His people suffer like this? So it was very bothersome to me. Around that time, I came across a book on spirituality, and I felt that all my questions have been answered. Everything made sense to me when I read spirituality. And then I started getting more involved in spirituality, and it's very similar to Sufism, part of Islam. So I really like it because there's no judgment, there's no fear, and it's only love, it's only peace, and you just learn about yourself. And why it clearly give me an answer of why some people are suffering and some people aren't. So I become more and more drawn to spirituality. I was still doing everything according to Islam, but I was kind of getting confused. So around that time, I decided that I will go to Hajj, Mecca, and if Allah is there, and if Islam is the true religion, I will get the answers there. So I went to Mecca. So at first you go to Medina, and I had such a good time. It was so peaceful. The whole vibe in Medina is so peaceful, and I used to go and pray in Masjid Nabawi every day, and it was just an amazing, soul touching experience. I really enjoyed it. But then I went to Mecca, and on the day of Arafat, you have to, of course, when I went there, it was very hot, and I had to cover my entire self with multiple pieces of clothing. And that day I heard a khutbah from an imam, and I just like, that was the biggest turn off for me, because in that khutbah it was very emotionally charged speech, and he was just instilling a lot of fear on us, and I just did not like it. It didn't sit well with me, and I felt like it's a major brainwashing session. So after the khutbah, we went out, and it was our train broke down, and it was so hot, I literally fainted and fell to the ground. But then they put water on me and gave me juice, and then I was able to get up and complete my Hajj. But I was literally frightened because I was not feeling it after the khutbah. Also, I haven't seen these many people in my entire life. And it was not only me, a lot of other girls were getting overwhelmed, and they are crying and were very stressed out that day. It is a very stressful day. Also, one other thing that I was turned off about is how covered women has to be over there. So if a girl is showing her face in Saudi Arabia, it was few years ago. Now Saudi Arabia is more, I've heard, modern. But at that time, if a girl was showing her face, she was considered very modern. And you have to be covered fully from like here to like all the way, and it's multiple layers. It's not only one layer, multiple layers of like hijab and niqab, and multiple layers of like long coat that girls wear over there. So it was just like too much. I felt like it's just too much. And I saw guys working at Sephora. I was like, how can you buy makeup with guys? And all kind of girl stores, like heterosexual guys were there selling it. It was a very male dominated society, and women were, if you see them, were fully covered and always were accompanied by a man. So after, like, I had a bad taste about Islam in my mouth after hearing that khutbah, and I really distanced myself from Islam after the pilgrimage, because my mindset was, I went there to find Allah, and I found my answer was that this is a way to brainwash people and to gain control and power over people. That was the conclusion I came up with, and I became more deeply entrenched in spirituality. So, but it's not all bad. Please stay tuned for part 2.